Greetings and welcome back to Doctor Who Revisited, where I go through every single episode of Doctor Who from 1963 all the way up to 2024 and review them. And now we are on to the Robots of Death. Okay, I said on last episode, the face of evil, that it is the quintessential type of Doctor Who story. This is another one. I mean, Doctor Who stories have many aspects to it. This is another great aspect to it. It's, the sci-fi element with a hint of mystery, a murder mystery, if you will. Doctor Who stories have so many different aspects to them. This is another one of those. The sci-fi element with a hint of a murder mystery of sorts. So the Doctor and Leela just land in what is essentially a giant sandcrawler, the sandcrawlers from Star Wars, but in Doctor Who. Curiously, I believe it was around the same time New Hope came out, if a few weeks or maybe a few months prior. But yeah, so sandcrawler manned by, get this, robots. Where you heard that before? But yeah, so the Doctor and Leela just happened to stumble upon this giant sandcrawler. I don't remember the exact name of the vehicle, but it's a giant sandcrawler filled with robots, with humanoid robots, almost androids, I would say. And there's a crew there, and the crew do not like them. And all throughout the episode, members of the crew start dying off, one by one, by one, by one, by one, and there's a mysterious force working against them. And clearly, you can tell it's the robots doing the killings. But I mean, robots don't do anything unless they're told. So who's telling the robots to kill the humans? That is the interesting question that lingers all the way throughout the episode. Now, obviously, it's one of those things that after watching it for the first time on rewatch, it's painfully obvious. But it's been so long since I've seen that episode for the first time, when I watched it first time around. I don't remember if I called who the murderer is right away. But now, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, there's a scene where what we believe to be the killers essentially picking the next target, and you can clearly see that it's the same clothes as the guy doing it. Because guess what? All the different crew members have completely different colored clothes. So yeah, it's very easy to tell who it is. If you're watching this, you'll probably already seen the episode already, so you know who it is anyway. So there's just something to some note that I decided to bring up. But speaking of their costumes, their different colored clothes, I love the individual design of their costumes. I mean, they're crazy, they're wacky, they're ridiculous. They almost look like something you'd find at Eurovision. But you know what? I love them. Everyone is unique. Every single costume is distinct from one another. It's almost like the costume department were really trying their best to outdo each costume and see which one could look crazier and more obscure than the previous one. And I love that. And I also really love the different sides to the robots, where you got the dumbs or the dummies, the black ones that cannot talk. There's the green ones, the Vox, and then the Super Vox, who are in charge of them. It's sort of like there's a hierarchy among the robots, and it's color coded. Wonder who came up with that idea. Wonder what that's based on. Especially when you consider the fact that the lowest class of the robots are black. I wonder if that's supposed to represent something. I wonder. But that aside, I feel like I think this is a Robert Holmes story. I think they nailed the way the society looks. I mean, the entire episode just takes place in that one vehicle thing, but you can tell from the way they're talking, from the dialogue, from the lore, from the world building, and from the hierarchy within the robots themselves, you can tell there's a wider world out there just begging to be explored and seen further. Case in point, Big Finish made an entire series of it. And they're not even the only one. There's another audio company, I believe, that also did an entire audio series just based around this episode, the world established in this episode. And this is how rich in lore and materials that this episode is. It's one of those classic Doctor Who episodes that really stood the test of time, and there's just so much to explore beyond that just one sand crawler that the majority of the episode takes place in. And so yeah, there's just so much to see, so much to imagine. The imagination can literally it has no limits with regards to this episode. But as for the episode itself, because this is the one we're talking about right now, I'd say it's fine. I mean, I think clearly the world building and the lore in this episode outshines the plot of the episode. Like I said, it's a murder mystery. People get picked off one by one by one by one. Stick to the end, you'll find out who did it. But when you find out who the killer is, uh, Taryn Capel, I believe that the real name of the perpetrator is. When you learn that, it's a regular human who wants to liberate the robots, so he pretends to be one. Okay, that's a bit ridiculous, but you know what? Again, it goes back to what I said earlier about the much larger world outside just the walls and boundaries of the sand crawler. We're calling it the sand crawler now, I suppose. But it's almost very similar to Frontier in Space, where you learn from the guy in prison that the Doctor was in prison with, that there's a much larger world outside what we were able to see in that episode. And yeah, that episode actually went to a lot of different places, but from that one conversation with the guy in the prison, you can tell that there's so much more to explore beyond that. And same thing goes for the Taryn Capel character with this episode. So yeah, again, like I said, there's not much for me to talk about the episode itself, but I think the lore that came from this episode has a lot to offer. Now, as of this moment, as of yet, I have not listened to the Keldor City audios or the Big Finish series, which I believe is just called The Robots, which, perfect name for it, I suppose. But I have not listened to either one of them, so I don't really have much to go on. But I think just the fact in and of itself that people were able to invest so much time, effort, and money into those series speaks for itself with how popular this episode is and the potential that it has. I mean, again, there's the conspiracy. I like that there's the one robot that's supposed to be a mute, but he can talk because there's a larger conspiracy. There's a secret underground operation to expose whoever the serial killer is. All good things, but just the characters in the Sandcrawler are not very memorable. They're not very engaging, minus of course the killer. But yeah, they're kind of annoying and selfish and self-centered, and it's one of those murder mysteries where you just can't wait until they all die. Like you're actually rooting for the serial killer in a way. At least I was. That's how the way I felt with this most recent rewatch. Of course, you want the Doctor and Leela to survive and find out who the villain is, but yeah, there's really not much to say about this episode. Like I said, a great world building, but the subpar plot. Well, not subpar, slightly above average. Let's give them a little bit of credit. So yeah, thank you for watching if you have, and one more episode to go, which I will have a lot to talk about the next one. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you have, if you have any other things to add about this episode, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Hi there. Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.